The first item on our agenda is a new hearing for the electric supply company, as advertised. Please come up and give us an overview of your proposal.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the board. For the record, Christine Hung from Reamer and Bronstein, attorney for the applicant, Electric Supply Center. With me tonight, I have members of the project team, Jim Porter, the head marketing officer at ESC, Andy Lehman, our sign vendor from Sign Art, and behind us is Annie Lovered, the architect from Design Success. We're before the board tonight seeking permission to install 4 exterior wall signs on the building located at 200 Middlesex Turnpike. By way of background, Electric Supply Center has been operating at the site at 200 Middlesex Turnpike since 2004. They provide electrical products for residential and commercial contractors and electricians for either pickup or delivery from the site. And although they have various locations around Massachusetts, the building in Burlington is its corporate headquarters. They're currently in the process of investing a large sum of money to rebrand their current logo, as well as renovating and improving the existing building, both internally and externally. And so in connection with that, they're going to be installing new exterior signs on the new building and to basically showcase their new logo, and also for like traffic safety and wayfinding signs. And if you know the site, it's kind of like a unique site in that it's, you know, as you approach it, like driving down north, there are two curb cuts. The first one is like on the south side of the building. So like the 2 curb cuts have their own associated parking. They're on the south side, which is the parking lot that's closest to Lifetime. That parking lot is really just for employees and vendors that come to the store. And the northbound parking lot, closer to Billerica, that parking lot serves the contractors that come to pick up supplies and materials. And so there are 2 distinct purposes, like 2 different parking lots, 2 distinct purposes. And so it's an interesting site in that you know, traffic safety is of importance. In terms of, you know, if you bypass one curb cut, you have to go into the next one, and then you have to turn around on Middlesex Turnpike, and so that's why the signs are important. So with respect to in the front entrance, we are asking for 3 wall signs. And so this is the front entrance, and this is the I'll just lean over. So this is the front entrance. So this is the parking lot that's closest to Lifetime. The 3 signs that we're asking relief for are this ESC sign and the logo. So it's non-compliant because it is over the 6 feet in height. So it's proposed to be 8 feet 3 inches. We have a smaller sign here that is compliant, except for that it's the second sign. So the bylaws provide that only one sign on the face of the building. And then we have this 3 yellow block logo, which would be the 3rd sign, and then it's you know, just slightly like taller than the 6 feet that is allowed. So these three signs are vinyl siding, so they're not protruding. They're going to be installed from the interior of the site. They're very translucent in that it's not going to be covering up any of the window. We have like a kind of like a remnant of what it would be like. So see how it's very sheer and translucent? It's almost like to guard like sun, it's the sun coming in through these glass panels. But it's gonna be applied from the interior. Nothing's protruding, it's not lit up. So these are the three signs in the front. This one's an interior sign. The fourth sign is this is along Middlesex Turnpike, and you have the ESC logo. The sign would be compliant except for these three yellow blocks, which are, I don't know what the dimensions are. I think they might be like 13. Oh, thank you. 16 feet by 10 inches. But, and these are, they're not going to be painted on, what are they? They're vinyl. They're vinyl as well. So they're not protruding. They're just kind of, and it's that's more of a decorative piece. The ESC and these three yellow dots will be lit up, and they protrude a little bit from the face of this building. Yeah, these are 6 feet high. So this would be compliant except for the three yellow blocks that are, again, as I mentioned, vinyl and painted on really and decorative.
But the three on the right are gonna be illuminated?
Yeah, the three on the right will be illuminated, as will this ESC sign. On this board, I have counter sales here. When the building enforcement officer reviewed these plans, he was not concerned with this. And it's also gonna be on the other side. I know in the set of plans that you have, it shows it on this side and then on that corner as well. He felt that it was really important for traffic safety as people come down Middlesex Turnpike, that they know that that's one of the entrances to come in, otherwise they'll just bypass it. I have I printed up pictures, I didn't take them, I had my passenger taken, and I'll pass it around for you, that shows you, how quickly it comes up in terms of, so this is, sorry. So as you can see, the picture that I had doesn't have that counter sale, but as you're coming up Middlesex Turnpike towards Burlington, to have that there is important because they'll tell you to turn at that location into that area for pickup. Otherwise, you'll just bypass it altogether. And similarly, I forgot to mention, on the front entrance, these signs are not visible from Middlesex Turnpike. They're only visible if you were at in the parking lot, and I have pictures that show, sorry, I should have passed it out at the same time, but show the angle of, as we're driving north on Middlesex Turnpike. So with the buffer of the trees and just the shape, the way the building is positioned, this won't be visible from Middlesex Turnpike. Only the people that are in the parking lot. There are no residential abutters. There's really no impact at all with these signs in that front entrance. So with that, I open up to questions, any questions that you guys might have.
All right, I'll start with you, Adam. You have any questions?
Not at this time.
John?
Not so much a question, but I agree that all those front signs really don't make a difference because nobody can see them except for when you're in your own parking lot and stuff. But, so on those two up on the right-hand corner, do you really think you need that one on the side Not just the one facing Middlesex Turnpike, the one facing Billerica?
Oh, the counter sale
Yeah,
sign?
yeah.
So are you talking about this?
Yeah, I'm actually talking about the sign that's around the corner.
Oh, on this side?
Yeah, I mean, it kinda
feel like
seems-
that sign is important only because as you're traveling toward Burlington, that because this is for the one by,
The fire station.
yeah, the fire station. The other one is where you're driving, south towards
Right,
Burlington.
I get that, but even in your picture here, I mean, you see the corner of the building from the street. So you're gonna look up and you're gonna see two signs. It's just my thoughts that maybe you don't really need that one on the side. I'm fine with absolutely everything else.
Okay,
I'm just thinking in my head that maybe that's too many on the corner there. Redundancy, like, if you're driving up to a building, you can see the same sign.
yeah, yep.
You don't really need it.
So, I'm Jim Porter.
Hi, Jim.
Head of marketing. So we set these signs up, that one is truly directional. When you're going down Middlesex Turnpike in the morning, our busy times are very early in the morning. Electricians are coming in, picking up, they're at the job site usually by 7. That pickup spot opens up at 6. Those people who already know us know where to turn in. Those people that don't, that Middlesex Turnpike is fast, even first thing in the morning. And the idea of coming down that heading north, if you had a front-facing flat sign, there's a good chance that they're not gonna see it. If you put it on this angle, you can see it. And you'll see from a seat height of the car, you have to look over the fence in order to see where to go.
Well, I mean, she gave us a picture of it. You
Yeah.
can see it clearly right there. I'm just saying, I don't know, it seems like you're gonna be able to just, as you're coming down Middlesex Turnpike, look up and see the two exact same
Yeah.
signs in the corner. And that's something that I'm not usually crazy about.
We thought it would have been, we think it would be more safe. What happens is when people do miss this, they go beyond, they have to find a reason to get off, then cross over 2 lanes of traffic, come back.
I get that. I
Cross
get all
over the lane again. We're being extra safe on it.
Like you said a few minutes ago, that the only people that go to that side are contractors, electricians.
Yep.
Okay? They already know. I mean, all the electricians already know where it is there. The people, if they're coming to ESC and they're coming from Billerica, they don't really need to see that sign, the 3 letters on the other side. I mean, they're all coming to that side of the building anyway.
Yeah.
Because they're a vendor, they're a salesman, or they're an employee,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So that's my,
If it stood in your way, and if I had to pick my druthers, I would rather have one, not this one.
you'd
here,
rather
but
have
the
it
other
not
one.
facing Middlesex Turnpike with it? I'm not saying that it's, I'm gonna stand in the way of it over it. I'm just giving you my thoughts and just see if anybody else thinks anything else. Thank you. Mark?
Yeah, I agree with John on the front, this diagram that you provided, which shows what you've described as 1, 2, and 3. I don't think, nobody's really gonna see those signs. I think those are fine. I disagree with John as it relates to the counter sales on that side, because I think that you do need more direction in that area, and that traffic area is congested, and because of the location of that building, it's, as you've described, it's kind of a traffic nightmare. If somebody misses that, now they've got to turn around in that area, and so.
The people that are going there have been going there for years. They
No,
know
that's,
where
but
it is.
I don't know that that's necessarily true. I think that a lot of new electricians and people who are in the business have to be able to find
Electricians
that.
start out being apprentices and they ride around with their boss. And they go there. Everyone goes there. All the electricians
I
go
don't
there.
know. I think it's useful because it's directional. I agree with, it sounds like the building inspector was in favor of it as well. And that was one of his concerns. The concern that I have is the one that sits right on Middlesex Turnpike in terms of the size. I know you're saying that it fits, the 6 foot, but the size of that with those 3 squares,
Bigger square.
just these humongous squares, which are, in other words, this is right on Middlesex Turnpike. I don't know how many feet that is off of, I don't see the need for, I know that whether, I knew that it's for branding type reasons, but it just seems like overkill aesthetically in that area. I think, quite frankly, you've accomplished your goal of the branding with the ESC, with the 3 squares on the right. And I just have concerns about that, but I'll reserve, wait for other people to comment, other members to comment. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So the idea, when we looked at this, it's a very long warehouse front. We're actually we're tearing down the old galvanized that is now red and has some big waves like this, and making it a much more sophisticated look, less depth in the waves, a little bit
Right.
tighter together, so it'll look nice. And the idea was it's a very long space, and we put it in the middle. The bylaws say I can run it 6 feet and run the whole length of it,
Right,
which aesthetically we didn't want to do. But we wanted, it's a big size, so we ended up this from a design
right.
standpoint.
All right, Charles?
All right, so I agree with the rest of the members at the moment that the front of the building, I think that looks fantastic. I do think that having 2 counter sales signs is a little bit too much. For me, however, I do agree that the one facing Billerica, we'll say, is probably the more needed sign of the 2. Not a lot of people are coming out at that red light there and trying to figure out where the counter sales is. I think most people are coming from the Turnpike side. And as far as the vinyl squares, my only question on that was gonna be, why did we come up with that size, and is it possible to make them smaller? Other than that, I don't really have any other questions. I think the rest of the application looks good. So.
Yeah, which just shows although that we made it as tall as the siding.
Yeah. Yeah, dimensionally, those squares they have to stay in the same ratio, but.
Okay, so that was just to make them look.
All right, Brenda?
I'm okay with the counter sales on both sides. I understand the need for them. The vinyl squares, I'm not a fan of. I think it's a little bit too much. And if you're gonna put a tree in front of it, it doesn't really make sense. My other concern is that if the 3rd sign in the parking lot that's gonna be covered by trees, if it's only visible in the parking lot, what's the need for it to be 8 feet, or say 8 feet 3 inches versus the conforming 6 feet? I just feel like we're setting kind of a precedent of, just because it's not seen from the street because there's trees right now, what if those trees get cut down? Now, they are seen from the street, and what makes another applicant come to us and say, you know what, well, we approved an 8 foot 3 inch sign on that side, why? I think that we can make it conforming. Again, okay with the directional signs, don't really care for the large vinyl squares, and then, do you not accomplish what you need at 6 feet? Is the 2 feet really making the difference, or like what size of the windows?
It was truly from an aesthetic standpoint that we put it at that height. From a design standpoint, you have to stay within a ratio, right?
Right.
This is the length of these bottom windows, and this is the length of the top windows. We were just trying to fit it in there so it comes to the bottom of the top windows. So it's for aesthetic purpose.
And is there any greenery or any bushes or anything that is in front of those?
No.
Not at this time, or planned, or is that it's just going to be a parking lot with a curb stop?
Yes, it's just gonna be a parking lot with a curb stop. The reason, and you might so this is the headquarters. We have, 30 to 45 people in there, depending on the time of the day that's in there. The owner's investing money in this company, in this building, because we needed to it's really employee morale. It's like, let's give them a better place to work than what they had before. And this sort of outside signage is really also sort of meant to pump them up. You know, like this is a cool place to go and work, and so that's the purpose behind it. Can it be 2 feet smaller? I appreciate your point.
Yeah. If I was walking into my company, the 2 feet logo, the 2 foot difference in the logo wouldn't be what excites me.
Right.
You know, give me a keg of cold brew, that excites me. You know?
Nice chair to sit in, or
Yeah,
windows to look out.
some
Yeah,
strong coffee,
I
that's
get
what
that.
gets me going, but yeah, that's all.
It was done from an aesthetic standpoint.
I understand.
And it is very translucent and sheer, as you can see by this, you know, so it's not like it's blocking out. You know, it's just respectfully and tastefully done.
Again, my concern is that if we approve something like this, and then we have other properties on Middlesex Turnpike, we're setting a precedent, and, you know, of large signage that could potentially turn that street into something different than what it is right now.
Mr. Chairman. Well, first of all, this board doesn't set precedent, so
No,
I can't, I mean, it just doesn't. You can have this building right next door to them come and ask the same thing, and you can say yes to them and no to the next one, depending upon their circumstances. I mean, we just don't set precedent. That's the makeup of this board. But my question is for you. If these signs on the front here are on the inside, why does it need a variance? I thought you do what you want on the inside.
Well, that's what we had originally raised with Andy, but I guess Andy was like reading the literal, you know, the bylaw definition of wall sign as being like a logo, you know, I have the definition here, but that was our, you know, our.
All right, well, so you had a conversation with them, and that's what they decided, so. Jeez, I thought it was, if it was inside, it was okay, but.
What do they call that?
I think they're-
Isn't there, what is it called to?
So if the.
That kind
for
of,
wall sign, it
signage
includes any
there.
letter, word, symbol, drawing, picture, design, device,
the-
article, or object that advertises, call attention to, or indicates any premises.
is that on the glass? That's right?
But it's on the inside of the glass, right?
Yeah, so it's gonna be like inside.
Yeah.
So if you look at the other way, you'll see.
Yeah, it'll be on the inside of the glass.
Right. Yeah.
Because in certain of the PDD,
Well, they
like
must have thought about it then.
jurisdictions, it's, you know, as long as the covering doesn't exceed 20% of like the total like window, so, but, you know, this isn't in the PDD, but.
I want to say there might be something in the bylaw about if it's so close to a window, then it counts as a sign. I could be wrong about that. I'd have to look. But if Andy determined that it's a sign,
Yeah, she said they had a conversation. I figured if they decided it, then they must, so.
right. All right, my biggest concern with this is, again, getting back to the 3 large vinyl squares on the front of the building. I don't think they're necessary. You already have the other 3 squares for the logo, so it's a little repetitive, and then the size of it just makes it it just stands out too much from my perspective. I don't have a problem with the 2 counter sales signs. I can see Brenda's point on the sign on the inside. I could go either way with it, I guess, but you're really only having it for people in the parking lot, so a smaller sign I don't think would hurt you. It's not like it wouldn't be something you could read. So I think that would be a positive change as well. Just one question, just on the vinyl squares too. You said it's not gonna be a completely flat surface on the front of that building, right?
Right.
So when those were adhered, it would have some kind of a ripple effect to the vinyl application as well, right? Yeah, I think that's another negative for that application as well. I don't think that would look the way it presents there even, you know, but, those are my comments for now. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor or against this proposal? Seeing none,
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
motion is made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Anyone else have any other?
Question on process, because I've never done this before.
Sure.
So, what happens after this? You go back a couple of days and figure out and give a decision?
Well, we're gonna kind of deliberate right now.
Okay.
And if we have further questions or comments, or if we're gonna ask you maybe to show us something new potentially, then that'll come up, or we might render a decision now.
Okay.
See how the rest of the talk goes. Anyone else? Any more further comments or thoughts?
Maybe it might be a smart idea to separate the counter sale signs, the front sign, and then the interior vinyl sign.
Why don't we ask them if they'll eliminate the vinyl squares?
Do we know what sign number the counter sales signs is? Because looking at the hearing,
Yeah,
Well, and
I
I wanted to
wasn't
raise
able
that
to
because
figure that
Andy
out.
didn't even raise that as an issue. He just thought it was fine, like he didn't, he felt it was from a traffic safety perspective that those signs were okay. The only reason why we have it on our application is for transparent, these were submitted, Andy, but, we have it for transparency so that you can see what it will look like.
it doesn't make,
But Andy didn't have any issues with those counter sales on either of the sides.
doesn't really make a lot of sense that some signs that are on the inside of the building are considered a sign, but a sign that's on the building isn't considered a sign.
Right.
What does it matter? In other words, it says it's a sign. We're either gonna give a variance or not.
It's not on the application though, so.
Oh,
Which ones?
Right.
Well,
counter
not
sales.
like his letter.
Oh, it's not on the application?
Yeah, it's not on,
Well,
well, it's not,
you can't-
it wasn't
you can't do it.
advertised in the counter sales. Weren't
oh,
advertised.
they're not on there.
So
Yeah,
we're
Right,
at
so we're not
can't do
even-
it, can't do it.
We're included, we're saying, then chair side moved up, further.
We can't do it tonight. We're gonna have to advertise it.
Right.
Right.
Well, I'd like to know before I vote on it if
Yeah.
those signs are
It wasn't
approved or not.
advertised,
Right.
it wasn't advertised, I think, because Andy didn't see it as an issue. He didn't,
Is he, when you say not as an issue, you saying he's not considering it a sign?
he's considering a traffic safety, for traffic safety purposes.
I think I'd like to hear from the building inspector about that one.
Right.
Yeah, only because if it is considered a sign, it would require another variance, because it would be the second sign on that side, so.
Yeah, if we're gonna vote on it, I'm not gonna vote on it if it wasn't advertised. If we have to
We
vote
would-
on it, then it's a sign.
Or we wouldn't even be voting on it, it's not
Right.
part of the application, we would, it's like off the table.
Yeah.
And then whether Andy granted a permit for it or not would be up to him, but we could ask for clarification before we make a decision. All right, well, let's,
So then maybe we should separate them then.
Well, it's not even on the application,
Not
that's
even
why.
on.
Oh, it's not on the application, so how can you
Yeah,
separate them?
right.
I get the point.
all right, well, I think we only need to separate off anything that we potentially want to modify. Everything else we could keep together, and instead of separating it into individual signs. So, why don't we,
Or
why don't
give
we,
them the option of
yeah,
continuing to
we could do that as well, and, I mean, we could,
do it all at once.
right. Well, do we want to wait to hear from Andy on that?
I think we should.
I'd like to, some clarification on what we're gonna vote on and what they're gonna be able to put up without us
Okay.
voting on it,
Okay,
before I make any decisions.
right.
Without voting on any of it?
Well,
Yeah.
I think Charles brings up a good point. If we're gonna condition it, there's no other signs, and then that gets considered a sign, then they have to come back.
Yeah, good thinking.
We might wanna get clarification.
2 weeks.
I think the other thing with that, if you could look at it, is the sign.
When's the next meeting, Joe?
The reason
It's 3 weeks. Yeah, it's
November
3
2nd.
weeks.
reason we're talking is because.
Make sure.
No, that's fine.
I
I should be
get the
saying that.
signs up, because we're opening in January. So this is part of the construction process. I need to get signs up. Regardless of what it is, just so where it is, so I'm concerned about a delay, that's all. Are there things that are standing, are there things that are standing in the way that we can't make?
Well, the question on the counter sale sign, specifically on the one that's on that elevation there, is that if it were to be considered a sign, it would be the second sign on that face of the building, which would then require a variance. I suppose you would have to come back to us for that sign then.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman? Do you have a permit for the counter sale signs yet?
They weren't denied. We submitted the whole thing, and here's all the signs that were gonna go on here. And so those were accepted in this conversation, and in the denial letter, he had no problem with the directional signs on both sides. And he knew that we were gonna have the sort of big ESC that sign on that side as well. So I think there was a conscious choice to not reject those directional signs.
Is there something?
Yeah,
that's
no,
accepted?
I understand that. I'm just trying to figure out if you already have a permit for him or not. If you already have a permit for him and we do no other signs by right, he's gonna be able to put them up.
Right.
If you don't have a permit for him, you won't be able to put them up.
I would say if you absolutely have to have a sign that you need to put up, I would just, I guess it doesn't, we do the front of,
So,
We could have.
yes,
we could do the front,
Why couldn't those counter sales be the sign by right, and then we're getting permission for we're getting the variance for the big ESC sign as a second sign on the building?
because that one's out of compliance anyway.
It's also not it wasn't advertised that way. It was only advertised for a variance on the size.
Right, but so that leads us back to, because he approved it, he didn't have any issue with it.
Yeah, typically, when the building inspector writes a letter to us, and if there's multiple signs and some are compliant and he approves them, he notes that in his decision, and he didn't do that. It's not necessarily something that you file.
He did do it for this one here, the indoor one. He said it was compliant.
Right. So these are just left out of his decision, which could be an oversight on his part, but we need to base our decision
How about if we did this?
on what we have.
I'm just speaking out loud here, just to move this thing along. If we took that counter sign off of that side right now and left the one on the other side that I think is the more effective of the two, would that be okay? And if we then needed to go get to get a variance to put it up afterwards, that counter sale on this side? My purpose is to get
We can.
the sign up. Pull the trigger on the manufacturing to get it done so that it goes in. So I'd be comfortable if we did that.
I think that would eliminate the problem.
I'm okay with that.
I don't know, you're okay with voting without it being advertised?
Yeah, we're not gonna be able to vote on that at all anyway.
We're not voting on it at all.
Right.
So, he may, if we vote tonight and approve or deny everything, they may have to come back for the counter sales if they don't already have a permit for it.
Right. And then that's what,
We just do it that way.
and that's what they would need to do,
Yeah.
yeah. So. I mean, we can put it as a part of the condition that it won't be on this elevation.
I think they're gonna have to come back anyway. I don't wanna really,
Yeah, right, yeah, that's true, yeah, we can
Money
condition
go
it that
on us.
any other signs, they'd have to come back, and so
Any other
we'd see
signs
it
in
if
Berwick,
they did,
then-
yeah,
come back for it.
that's fine. All right, so now we're back to the other signs and whether there are any modifications before we split this up, just so we know what we're splitting up. Can you, I don't know what the rest of the board thinks, can you live without the vinyl sides? I think you've heard from at least a portion of the board that they didn't think they were necessary.
So,
I mean, you have 6-foot,
Vinyl this?
you have 6-foot letters there, facing
yep,
a main road
Yep.
at a major intersection. I think I think it's a lot,
yep.
so,
I want to do what's good for the town, for
Okay.
the board, that's why we've been transparent with all of this stuff, so if I had to surrender those 3 squares, I would surrender those 3 squares.
Okay.
I would ask you if you would consider keeping the vinyl on the parking at the original height so that aesthetically fits in. I think you're denying this one from an aesthetic standpoint.
Yeah.
I'd ask you if you could keep that in the other side from an aesthetic.
I think that's fair. I'll let the other board members weigh in as well.
Here's that as well.
I have no objection to that.
Mr. Chairman, I have another question, sorry.
Yeah.
If they were to take the vinyl panels off of the sign, am I right in assuming that they would have that sign by right? It's
Yeah,
6 feet
it's
high.
only 6 feet high.
They could have it the length of the building.
Yep.
Do the other side, make those 6 feet high, you don't need us at all. Just throwing that out there.
I would like to have that at that height.
So that we're gonna have no counter sale signs until this gets straightened out.
I believe that the counter sale sign on the buildings have been approved. I believe they have, and there's some clarification. If I could get it approved so I can move on the big sign, I will do that. And if it takes 2 weeks to clarify whether.
We're just gonna give you the possibility that if it hasn't been approved and permanent yet, there is a chance you would have to come back for those signs,
For the counter sale sign.
the counter sale signs. But you'd have the other signs approved as modified,
Yep.
and at least you can move forward with that.
What about this, the other counter sign, sales sign in the parking lot?
Again, it wasn't advertised, so we can't
But I
approve.
mean, isn't that by right? Can't-
It would be, but we'd be putting a condition on this building that there'd be no other signs, even if allowed by right. So that would make it come back, because we would want to see the comparison to any other sign that wouldn't want to go on this building, whether it was those signs or a different sign, and how it relates to the architecture of the building and the signs that are already laid out. So,
Did you get that? You know what he's saying?
So you're saying none of the counter sale signs can go on?
we're not approving it. We're not denying it either. If it's already permitted, then it's already permitted.
It's
But-
already approved, but not permitted. Which I think you were gonna go back and try to clarify.
Right, well, that's what we want to go back and clarify. That's something we're gonna have to figure out with the building inspector, and I can talk to him about that. But for the sake of trying to get the other signage, which sounds like you want to get approved, we'll approve it with conditions, and however you need to move forward with those other signs is however the building inspector interprets it to move forward is how we'll have to move forward.
Okay, but if you were to put something on that said that I can have no other signs on this, then I would have to come back to the Board of Appeals.
Right.
In order to get that other side, not
Yes.
the one here that's facing over there.
Yes. Yes. It's not ideal. I mean,
Not inexpensive either.
well, I know, well, we could put it off 2 weeks, and we could get a clarification from the building inspector, we could put the whole thing off, if that is preferable. We can do that as well. You made it sound like you wanted to move forward and get something approved tonight.
Yeah.
And I think that's the only way we can do this. We just need to know that we know what's gonna be there and what's not gonna be there. And we're missing a piece of information from
Yeah.
the building inspector.
And that missing piece, and I don't mean to push you,
Oh,
but I'm
no.
just trying to get this, right? So, my conversation with him was that I have no problem with the directional signs, and I think it enhances the safety of what's going on in the building, right?
Right.
And so, we were not denied that in the letter, but I think you're saying that it didn't point it out to say it's approved.
Right.
Either, though.
Which he typically does. Like your sign that's on the inside of the building, it specifically says that there's no jurisdiction. Every sign package that we see that he has a letter from, it calls out every sign, whether it's allowed
Yep.
or needs a variance.
Yep.
And he, so it's almost like this was left out of, it's included in your package, but it's not included in his letter, and therefore wasn't advertised.
Okay.
So we can't approve something that wasn't advertised. If he determines that it's somehow a sign that's not regulated by the bylaw, then he could probably give you a permit even with that condition. I don't know if that is what he would do or not.
So this is procedural, right? So if you're, you understand what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to pull the trigger on the manufacturer, make that.
I understand.
Big sign, not the little one that says
Yeah, I understand.
sales, right?
Right.
So if I didn't have to put counter sales up there, I'm gonna create this sign anyway. You like that sign without the big three, so I'm 100% confident that you're gonna approve that sign. So I can get him going
Right.
and wait 2 weeks for you to clear it with whether this is debatable or not. Let me just ask you a question from that standpoint. So if Andy says, yeah, I overlooked it, I didn't write down stipulations in compliance, you give me a call, say, go ahead
Right.
with it. If he does say, oh yeah, well, that's up to you, how will that affect me?
It would need to be
You
advertised.
have to advertise it again.
And that's 30 days?
It's at least 14
Yeah, 2 weeks.
days, yeah. So,
But that wouldn't impede you with your illuminated sign. You could
Right.
still go forward with your illuminated
just
sign,
keep
it
it
just
off.
the other one would be secondary.
either way, well,
My fear though is that if you wrote down in there saying, this is fine, but you can put no other signs up on this building, then I have to go in front of the board and hire an attorney to come up here and speak and talk. You know what I mean?
no, I
We're not
understand.
that vicious.
Condition in, like, subject to what, discussions with Andy on the counter sales, if he then says, oh, yeah, it's traffic safety, then we can put those signs up without having to come back, without that condition that you normally put in, that no other signs even by right.
The only way I would see that is if he didn't consider it a sign, as far as the sign bylaw was concerned.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
If they,
Then
if,
it's not a sign, so you don't have.
yeah. These weren't advertised, so we can't approve it even if we wanted to.
Can you carve out from the, your language, the counter sales signs, subject to, our conversations with Andy, clarify so that it doesn't, stop the process and having to come back if Andy doesn't deem it to be a sign because they're traffic safety issue, it's a traffic safety purpose?
So if I can jump in for a second, it sounds like, I don't want to speak for the rest of the board, but it sounds like that the vinyl squares on the ESC sign are not gonna be, approved. It looks like we're gonna just approve the ESC, the illuminated part of the sign, which appears to be, by right in the bylaw, so you could go in tomorrow morning and file a sign permit for that sign without our decision and start working on that. And we could continue the rest of this hearing for 2 weeks until we get some clarification from the building inspector. Right, sounds right.
That's fine.
Yeah,
It's very reasonable, I like that.
the only thing I'm thinking is continuing it, and then if it is determined that it's a sign that needs to be, then it still needs to be re-advertised.
So,
So determine that at the time, how we handle that.
Joel, could you, if it's determined tomorrow morning, is that enough time? When's our next meeting?
I'm sorry.
If it's determined tomorrow morning that those need to be advertised, is that something we could advertise before the next meeting? Is that enough time?
So we,
We have to do it tomorrow?
Thursday before 12 o'clock on Thursday.
Okay.
okay.
So maybe we can, between the board, we can get a hold of Andy and see.
Yeah, I can call him tomorrow.
Just as a point of clarification, when you advertise it, does it drive you to the website so you can see the plan of what this would look like?
There's, the submittal is online, that you can, the package that we have here, so we have, like a copy of that, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so if the public is notified, would they go and see it there?
They can access it from the ZBA website.
Yeah, they could, if they want to look at the details,
The certified letters to all your letters.
We did.
yeah.
We did send those out, so therefore the public would have they were on the original plan anyway. We didn't take them off.
Right.
So they were in fact seen. I don't know if they were written into here.
It's still a procedural matter of how it was advertised.
Which is written in this,
Yeah, the legal
how it's written,
notice.
the legal notice, what's in it.
Right. Does that sound reasonable for you? You can move forward with that sign, and we'll get a clarification, and we'll see what we need to do for our next meeting to get that all worked out.
Yeah.
All right. We'll just continue the whole thing for now.
Yeah, I think we just continue the whole thing. When's the next meeting?
November 2nd.
Thank you. Make a motion to continue ESC to November 2nd.
Second?
Motion is made and seconded to continue hearing for Electrical Supply Center to our meeting of November 2nd. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry for the confusion.
It's all right. No. Sorry for my confusion. So at this next meeting, is it just me standing here? And you're telling me whether this direction is
There might be a little bit of background work in between, but yeah, we should be able to wrap this up pretty quick at the next hearing.
My question is, do I need to bring everybody here to go through this?
I don't think you do, no.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda is a new hearing for 47 Middlesex Turnpike as advertised. Please come up to the microphone and give us an overview of your proposal.
This is the one that you.
If you could please introduce yourselves and just give us an overview of your proposal, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Nok Tran, and I'm actually the owner of Viet Citron, and I'm here with Sean Shaw, who is the sign installer for us, and then Suzanne Church, who's the landlord of our property. And we're here to get a variance for our signs. I think by law, you're allowed to have 48 inches high signage, and then you can span across the full length of your facade if you're a one-story building. And currently, we're proposing to have a 36-inch signage, and it spans about 14 feet long in the front. And then we're also proposing to have a signage on the side of our building as well. And I just want to also just to, to give you some context, Subway used to be right on this premise, and their signage was even bigger than ours previously. So we just want to show you that we're doing something a lot nicer than what it used to be.
Okay, Brenda?
No, I think it looks good. I think it's decently proportioned, and this is a illuminated sign. Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Illuminated. Looks good. No questions?
Charles?
I don't have any questions. I'm good.
Mark?
No questions?
John?
The sign on the side, is that gonna be illuminated as well?
Possibly. We haven't
Possibly.
decided.
I don't know, I was out there today, and from the traffic light, when you're sitting in front of Market Basket there, again, the way the building sits, you're staring right at the corner of the building. You can see that, you'll see that front sign, just like you did when it was Subway. I don't see the need for the side sign.
Can I say something in
Sure you
response to
can.
that? I think when you're coming down from Lexington,
Yeah?
not Adams Street, but from, I really think that you don't see the front of the building that well. And with the pylon sign where the H Mart, I think it's a lot of distracting stuff there. I mean, Hanscom came and got a sign approved for that side of the building, which has now limited us greatly for any sign being put up anywhere on the building. And I think it's, this is by right, theoretically, they should be able to have some kind of, that's a business, they're in that space. And, that space has been empty for 2 years. There's always been visibility issues there on the Middlesex Turnpike because there's so much going on there.
Right.
And I think that their signs are really tasteful. I think they're, attractive, and, we want them to succeed there.
As we say in the sign industry, a business without a sign is a sign of no business. And we want you to try her delicious cuisine when it's up and ready. So you may be very familiar with this location, but I think what she's pointing out, and I had put 47 Middlesex Turnpike in my ways, and I completely ended up going towards Market Basket. And in that traffic, trying to make a loop around, it is a little intimidating, and I'm a pretty A-type driver, but still, the cars coming from so many different directions to look for a business, if the sign is there, that's the whole primary purpose for having a sign. I mean, for a taxpayer, a business owner who's going to be employing, and it adds value to the town to make, fabricate, and install, a tastefully made sign.
And I think also with the sign that does face the Middlesex Turnpike, you don't see it almost until you're like right there at that intersection. We actually have an easement with the neighbor that's at Metropolitan Furniture where we can use his driveway and he can use our driveway. So if people can, coming down the Middlesex Turnpike from Market Basket or from Lexington, see the sign and can pull in on the Metropolitan side instead of waiting until the light from, Adams Street and into the driveway entrance, I think it just makes so much more sense. There's been a lot of traffic issues there that have been alleviated in the past year or two with the improvements that have been done. But still, if you can get people coming in that driveway instead of, piling up at the light, it just seems to make sense. And I think they're very tasteful and understated, and
I'm not arguing whether or not they're distasteful or not. I'm telling you that if you come down Adams Street, you can see the sign front on, no problem. If you're coming off of Middlesex Turnpike, you can see the sign from no problem. But if you're coming in from Lexington, you can see that front sign, no problem. It's my opinion, you don't need the side sign.
All right, Adam?
Not so much a question, but if it's, I don't think I saw it explicitly listed, but if it's illuminated, since it's not listed, we should qualify lumens, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. That is going to be a question. The way I read this is that these were both the same sign. Like, they're both illuminated. That's how it appears to me. There doesn't seem to be two depictions of signs here, so,
I think they are, yeah.
okay.
and the subway signs were both illuminated signs, and the Hanscom sign that's there now is illuminated.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, because the question came up whether they were both illuminated and there wasn't a definitive answer. I mean, if they both are, that's how it reads to me. I'm fine with that. I do have a question about, is it just channel letters and the lighting comes out the front, or is it halo lit? It seems to be noted as halo, but then one of your examples shows it as kind of just a,
So it's both, it's front lit as well as halo effect.
Okay.
Background too. Now, many of these upscale restaurants will have a very distinct and tasteful signage, really. When you're looking for a place to go to for dinner, I think it's coming up and seeing a nicely illuminated sign, tastefully done, is a huge big attraction for you to come in. It's very inviting, really. So.
I mean, part of the reason we have the slit sign I actually originally did not want it, but because the existing condition of the site, there's a lot of glow from the street sign. So if you do like a lit sign from above.
Gooseneck.
You can actually, yeah, the gooseneck, you actually cannot see the letter very well because of the, the shadows and then the lighting from the streets. So, in the end, we have to go with the lit sign because of that reason too, because of the existing context.
I think the halo effect adds a lot to it, instead of just being straight channel letters. As Adam mentioned, we have, we usually condition lit signs that they be no more than 90 lumens per square foot. Is that,
Yes, yes.
that's fine?
Yeah, pretty much, absolutely.
All right. All right, that's it from the board. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak in favor or against this proposal? Seeing none,
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
motion is made and seconded to close the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Any other comments from the board? Questions? Motions?
Motion to approve, as advertised?
Want the lighting condition?
Okay. Motion to approve, as advertised with the condition that, the illumination must be 90 lumens per square foot.
Second.
Less than.
Oh, I'm sorry, 90 or less than 90 lumens per square foot.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
4-1. You're all set. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time.
The next item on our agenda is a new hearing for 65 Network Drive as advertised.
Sheet would need that.
Please introduce yourself and give us an overview of your proposal.
My name is Richard Batten. I'm from Batten Brothers Sign Company. And I'm actually here tonight to request either a postponement or a tabling until the next meeting. There's still some issues that are being worked out between the tenant and the landlord in this case. And so here I am.
Okay. Does anyone else? I don't have a problem with that. Ian. No comments?
Works
for me.
I just have one comment. If prior to, or at least for the next hearing, if you come forward with this proposal, if you could submit or bring with you an elevation of the building that shows where the sign will be.
Okay.
We have an image of the sign, but we don't have it on the building.
Okay.
It would just be very helpful for reference.
Show you what let me see if this is what I have. Let me just show you if this is acceptable for that purpose.
Yep. Yeah, that'll be fine. Yep. Yeah, if you could just submit that and, or,
Can I have that copy?
yeah,
Perfect.
great. All right.
When is the next meeting?
So our next meeting is
November
November 2nd.
Make a motion to continue to November 2nd.
Second?
Motion is made and seconded to continue the hearing for 65 Network Drive to our meeting of November 2nd. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? 5-0. See you in a couple weeks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'll turn it around here. The next item on our agenda is the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes?
Motion to accept the minutes.
Second?
Motion is made and seconded to approve the minutes from our October 1st, 2019 meeting. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? 5-0.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Motion is made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? 5-0. Meeting adjourned.